We're just going to get started right now. Um, Hi, everyone. I'm Aisha. I'm a senior at the Advanced Learning Academy and a member of the SAISD Student Coalition. And I have my friend Julian here with me, and I'll let him introduce himself as well.
Hi, hello. My name is Julian Navarrete. I'm also a senior at ALA. And so we're gonna show you this little presentation about how our coalition was founded, and then also more projects that we've done and how we've grown as a community and trying to make change in SAISD. And so in the beginning, it started a little over a year ago in the fall semester of the 2019-2020 school year, after there was a series of interviews and surveys conducted by the district with students who were chosen to represent the school. And so in this interview, in the survey, uh, circuit, there was no one was really told how we were being, what we were doing, how we were being changed. And I know that because I was a part of it and I was very confused. And then come to find out later on, about a couple months later, I found out that my input was to make the SAISD Student Bill of Rights. And so I'm not sure if people from uh, other CAS schools or in other districts know, like, hey, some districts do have a Student Bill of Rights. I know it's not everywhere, but we feel fortunate that we have them. But the issue became, how are these rights being defended? Like, how do they impact us? Like, yes, they are there, but if we see these happening, what steps do we take in order to say, hey, my rights are being violated? And so we were made up as a coalition a little over a year ago, as I said before, to kind of make these asks, to pinpoint these problems and be like, hey, this is happening, this needs to stop. And so we kind of started by drafting asks um, concerning community and participation of outside organizations such as the Texas Criminal Justice Coalition, Texas Appleseed, and ACLU Texas. And so we spoke with with representatives from these organizations and these nonprofits to draft a Bill of Rights. And we had this very long conversations that spanned across multiple weeks. And we had several meetings, and in the end, we always wrote the problems that we discussed. And in the end, we drafted these drafts based off of the problems that we saw as students. And in this time was when we found out we had a voice. Students have a voice. If we come together, then we have the ability to make impact. And so this led up to in the picture, the main slide that's being shared right now, that is from a meeting in February where we went to the district to talk about our asks and to ask about how these changes can be made. And we basically introduced ourselves to the district, because at that time we were like outside entity. We weren't really considered students, which is kind of odd. And we were looked at as an outside independent organization. And so we were asking, like, hey, we need to collaborate. There are several students represented from many different schools, and we have a voice, and we want to make change in our district for the better. And so that is how we kind of started. And so Aisha, I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah, so Julian kind of left off at this board meeting that we're at in all of these pictures. And this was in February of last year. It's kind of when we really introduced ourselves to the district and kind of like to SAISD in San Antonio in general. We each had little speeches that we wrote, 3-minute long speeches about issues that we were passionate about. And we had like media there, we had some reporters there to like write an article about us. It was all really, really exciting. And that was our like big entrance. And so we like made all these signs. We were all gathered there. We were all backing each other up. And then when the articles came out about us, they were all about one issue that only a handful of people spoke about, which was our call to SAISD to defund their on-campus police officers. And this was back in February before the big BLM movement over the summer. And so defunding police wasn't a big conversation that was being spread around. It was kind of an alien idea, and a lot of people weren't very happy about it. Some of the news articles kind of painted us as a bunch of like cop hating kids, and that was our only issue. And we were like crazy for talking about like something so ludicrous. And that's not how we wanted to be seen, but that's kind of how we were being presented to the world. Um, and so we kind of tried to back off on that issue a little bit so that it would blow over and people could see us as a group of kids who want our voices to be heard, not just a bunch of cop hating teenagers, you know? And so then over the summer when the BLM movement really um, picked up and the conversation of defunding police was more common, we decided to bring this issue back into the forefront. And that started with us making a petition, really pushing this out into the world, making sure that the district knew that we wanted this done. And we really wanted to make sure that they would listen to us. And in order for them to listen to us, we needed to have people backing us. So we made the petition, which was basically a call for SAISD to defund their on-campus police officers and redirect the money into mental health and restorative justice facilities. During the 2019-2020 school year, SAISD spent $6.4 million on their on-campus police department, and in their most recent budget meetings, they said that they're not going to bring that number down anytime soon. It's staying the same for this school year, and we just really thought that was unacceptable because pushing money into school policing really just reinforces the criminalization of students and feeds kids into the school to prison pipeline, and it makes school campuses unsafe. Having police in disciplinary situations really just escalates them when certain situations could easily be handled by like a counselor or an administrator. A lot of times they're escalated by police and students are fed into the school to prison pipeline and they are criminalized, which we obviously don't want. We don't want our students to be criminals. Um, it also makes schools really unsafe for undocumented students, which SAISD has a large population of undocumented families, and they claim that their schools are a safe space for them. But when we have police officers there, it puts the students at a higher risk of deportation, not only the students, but their families too, which is, again, unacceptable. Um, Also, having police officers on campus hasn't statistically been proven to make schools safer. The biggest argument we hear against our ask is that what about like active shooter situations? What's going to happen then? Who's going to protect the students? And that's not statistically proven. Like having police officers on campus is not statistically proven to keep students safer in any way. Um, it just criminalizes Black and Brown students, which is the biggest population of SAISD. We've seen this criminalization happening firsthand. There's been instances of police brutality, like in 2016, when a 12-year-old girl was body slammed by a police officer, which is completely unacceptable. In no world should any 12-year-old be body slammed by an adult man. And so we pushed this petition forward and asked that SAISD take the money from the police department and put it into these resources that are going to help students grow in the long run, like restorative justice workers and counselors. And with these programs that we want to have in schools, um, students gain knowledge that stays with them throughout their lives. They learn how to de-escalate situations. They learn how to find long-term solutions to their issues instead of resorting to violence. And the alternative to that, which is what's happening right now, is having police officers escalate situations, criminalizing students, feeding them into the school to prison pipeline. And that also has long-term implications. When a student is introduced to the criminal justice system at a long age, they're far more likely to continue this cycle and re-enter the justice system over and over again throughout their lives, which we don't want. And so having these restorative justice and counseling options helps students build long-term solutions that they carry with them throughout their lives so that they're not continuing to enter the criminal justice system as they grow up. Um, so we released our petition and we met our goal, our first goal in under 24 hours, which was super exciting. It had a lot of traction, and this issue was voiced by many of our partners as well, our partner organizations, teachers unions, and then it went nowhere, which was really disappointing. The district, their only response was that they're not going to bring down the budget, and that was kind of disheartening. It really showed how little the district was paying attention to the voices of the people they're serving, which is the opposite of what they should be doing. They should be paying attention to what the people they're serving want, and it just wasn't happening. So we're continuing to push this issue. We have our first one-on-one meeting with district administrators coming up very soon, which is super exciting. Um, and it's taken almost a year for them to meet with us face to face and actually listen to what we want, which is, on the one hand, a little disappointing. We want the district to be more attentive to their people's needs and their people's requests, but it's happening. So this is something, it's an ongoing process. Activism is always an ongoing process. Organizing is always an ongoing process. And it's not an easy one. It's very, very frustrating sometimes. It can be really disheartening. But it's definitely worth it. So I think I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of organizing students, how you should go about that, and then we can do a little like Q&A about anything we've talked about today. So Julian already talked about this a little bit, but if you see an issue and you decide that that's something you want to tackle, you want to change that thing. In our case, it was the Student Bill of Rights. You need to have people backing you. And so our founder, Bella Garcia, spread the word among her friends. She started this coalition, and a lot of it was kind of word to mouth, yeah, like spoken word advertisement, people telling their friends about this coalition. And that actually made us pretty big. We have about like 20 constant members who come to all of our meetings from all across the district. We're always open to new members. Right now, we're limited only to SAISD, but if other schools, other people from other districts are interested in doing something similar, you can always reach out to us. Julian, do you want to put our Instagram in the chat? Follow us on Instagram. If you have any questions about student organizing, you can DM us and we will answer you right away. Another tip I have for organizing students is have organizations backing you. Find NGOs that are looking to target the same issue you are. Reach out to them, have them partner with you, build those bonds, make connections, because that's where the real change comes from. Sometimes being a group of kids isn't very powerful, which is unfortunate. I wish that adults saw kids as more powerful. But once you have other organizations backing you up, they start to get scared. They're like, oh, they're serious about this. They have people backing them. So you really want to have that support. So yeah, those are my two like big tips. Social media is another great resource. Our numbers grew into like the hundreds when we had our Instagram page. And so just have people backing you. That is the biggest thing I can say. There's strength in numbers, there's strength in personal testimony. Make sure that the issue that you're targeting is close to your heart. And there's just strength and passion. So yeah, be passionate about whatever you want to change. End of presentation. If you guys have any questions, put them in the chat and Julian and I will answer them.
Okay, so I see Pablo was asking, how can he join? You literally either just like, I don't know how it would work now because usually we do it through social media, but if you don't have social media, I'm sure that will work. You can contact one of us. But if you want to join, you can just DM us and be like, hey, I'm interested in joining, and someone will reach out to you, and then we'll invite you to like a little presentation, and we'll tell you a little bit more about the coalition and the projects that we've worked on and the projects that we've been working on. And we'll just kind of update you because I realize that if someone just kind of jumps into our or what we've been doing, you'd be lost. We've been working on a lot of different projects.
I'm
Yeah,
sure. I really want to do this though. This is like right up my alley with like what I've been doing like over like the past year or so at least.
that's awesome. If you have, do you have Instagram? If you have Instagram, you can DM us. If not,
Um,
we also have an email. Julian, I don't remember our email. It's SAISD Student Coalition at gmail.com, right? Okay, we'll put that in the chat too.
okay.
Um,
Okay.
yes, and I will let the people who monitor those things know that we're gonna have some people reaching out to us. Um, so one person asked me, how do you speak affirmatively yet respectfully? I think that's a really good question, and it's something that I struggle with sometimes. Personally, I believe that respect goes both ways, and you don't necessarily have to respect someone if they aren't respecting you as well. Um, and I think that's not always the best strategy. You do want to be respectful because if you're not, then people are going to get mad at you, which is
And it's
definitely
gonna
something.
escalate.
Yeah, it'll
Don't
escalate the
forget about
situation.
OSHA, guys. OSHA.
Um, so I think the best way to do it is to not attack them, but be very, very firm in your beliefs. Make sure that they understand what you're saying. Make sure that you have evidence to back it up. Make sure you have testimonies because there's strength in numbers, but there's also strength in emotion. If you have like personal stories or if you've collected stories from other people, that's really going to make an impact. You need to appeal to their emotions. Um, yeah, Julian, is there anything you want to add to that?
No, but to answer some of the comments that Caleb is leaving, um, we did have a really big discussion of how we wanted to frame our campaign. Did we want it to say reform or did we want to say defund? Because immediately, whenever people think defund, they're like, oh my God, the police aren't going to have any money. They're just going to be done away with. And so we wanted to frame it as more of a counselors, not cops kind of situation where we promote the idea of there being more counselors, because if you go to ALA, you know that there is only 2 counselors, and before there was only 1 for all grades. And so that was really unfair. You know that if you need help, you probably won't have it. And so the idea isn't so much like, hey, protection from people who are outside of the campus. It's more protection from people inside campus. And so we want to have more funding for counselors instead of going to cops, which is what is currently happening.
And that's because the counselors barely even do anything on the mental health front. It's more so like scheduling and academic stuff, not really like what's going to actually create safety.
Yeah, and that's something we really want to change. We want to make
Yeah.
sure that there are people who are specifically designated to helping students de-escalate situations, which is something counselors can do, but it's not something they can do if there's not enough of them, which the the mental health facilities in our school district are severely underfunded, and the police budget is a little over the top in my opinion. I don't think we need $6.4 million annually for on-campus police officers. One issue someone brought up was that our school is downtown, and so there's like homeless people, and they feel like the police officers protect them from that. And I definitely agree with that. um, it can be a little bit scary walking downtown, especially like to the parking lot or something like that. But you don't necessarily need on-campus police officers for that. You can use like SAPD. They can have off-campus patrol routes, which is something we're also trying to put in place, because having them on campus involved in disciplinary action for students criminalizes us, which is not what we want.
Yeah, and also I think a big part of that is that we've normalized the idea of there being cops in school. And if you were to ask people from other parts of the country or even other parts of the state, they'd be like, why do you even have cops at your school? That's not normal. Like, why is that at my school? That doesn't happen. That doesn't exist. That institution is not in place.
What are some other topics and issues the coalition is looking into? I'm so glad you asked that. There are a lot of things that we have been looking into. Some of them are a little less kind of enticing, but one that I'm really passionate about is student nutrition, because the lunches in SAISD are subpar, to say the least. And so when we went to this board meeting in February, the issue I spoke about was having inclusive lunches, because the lunches in SAISD are discriminatory. There's no religious accommodation for school lunches, which I think is unacceptable. Other issues are like data transparency. We want the district to be transparent in their interactions with students. Julian, what are some other ones?
Some other ones also include reaching out to other organizations, other nonprofits to help with the facilitation of like training people, training teachers, training counselors in what they can do as far as the Student Bill of Rights, which we have been pushing. And then also another big project that we have been working on is working with a nonprofit legal aid and just learning more about our constitutional rights as students. And so if you were to join our coalition, you would know a lot about. The meetings that we've had so far have revolved around like truancy, and then also like your right to court if you were to be in student court, because there is a lot of how should I say it? It's kind of unfair if you were to be a student in district court for like your school district, because there is no independent audit. And so we just want to, doing stuff like this helps us spread the word, and like hopefully one day we can make change in terms of all of these different aspects. I know these all kind of sound very disconnected, from nutrition to police in school to legal aid, and but we just want to elevate the school district as a whole.
Yeah, and if you want to join the coalition, we are totally open to targeting new issues. This is all about student voice, and we want to listen to you and what you want. So if there's something that you see that is kind of rubbing you the wrong way and you want to change it, just let us know, and we can definitely work on writing that into our asks.
Okay, I have another question. Sorry, I know I've been taking up a lot of time here.
Okay, go ahead, Pablo.
Okay. Have you ever considered the option of students helping each other out, like think like peer mentorship?
So obviously we want students to help each other, but that also puts a lot of pressure on students when we have a lot of other things that we need to do. Always help your friends out, always give help when you're able, but we don't want to add that pressure to students. Caleb is asking, why don't we talk about the SAISD mental health room? That's a really good thing to talk about. At Sam Houston, an outside organization came and they incorporated something they called a peace room, which was a restorative justice facility where students could go and kind of talk out their issues instead of like having fights to resolve problems. And there was a huge difference in that school's atmosphere. The number of fights per week went down by some massive number. I don't remember it specifically, Julian might, but it was really working, and there were numbers to back it up. And students loved it. They loved having that safe space, and then the district took it away. And it didn't really give a reason for removing the peace room, but one day it was gone, and the number of violent interactions went back up on campus, and they were kind of put back to square one, which was really unfortunate because they had this great resource and it was just snatched away.
Okay, so Mr. Wilson, so to kind of address your comment, yes, there have been some like, I'm not sure about this, but as an organization, we've all come to agree that we are supposed to be like a very democratic organization. So for example, how in the beginning, Aisha kind of said our founder, Bella, she doesn't really work that way. Like we don't have a president or anything. We all look at each other as equals. And so we vote very often, and if we choose something, then it's okay, that is it, because we decide as a whole.
Yeah, we're not really a hierarchical organization. We don't have like a president or a vice president or any of those kind of like titles. We all see ourselves as equals because we think that that's how the best change happens if no one feels superior to anyone else. So everything, as Julian said, is done very democratically. We vote on everything. And I think it's a really great system because everyone gets to feel like they are heard.
Yeah, and also in our group, you choose how often you want to be a part of us, or what campaign specifically you want to be a part in. So some people, they kind of stepped away in the nutrition, or they kind of like how Aisha and Alejo, I don't know if you know Alejo, he used to go to ALA, but they really took on the nutrition ask and they ran with it. And then me and another girl, Nayeli, who goes to YWLA, we took on how to incorporate independent nonprofits in our actual like everyday learning, and how to train teachers and stuff. And so yeah, you take whatever you want and you run with it, and depending on how successful you are with it, we come back.
Yeah, there's no obligation to do anything. The amount of work you want to do is completely up to you. We had some seniors kind of back off on some projects because of like college applications, things like that, because we know life gets really overwhelming and we don't want our coalition to be some massive obligation. So you get to choose what you want to work on. And then it's pretty much all in your own hands. You get to choose what you want to do, how you want to do it, your own like schedule, very laid back, not a lot of pressure.
Okay.
So, do you have to be a student to attend meetings? Um, we have some people who've graduated, so they're college students who attend our meetings. Parents don't really come to our meetings, but I'm sure if they wanted to sit in, they could. We have some outside organizations and some adults who sit in on our meetings as well, but it's not really um, a space for adults. We want it to be a space for kids. Um, so if adults are interested in coming to our meetings, they are welcome, but it is really a space for students. Yeah, so we've kind of reached the end of our time. I want to thank you all for coming, listening to us. I really hope that you guys find your voice and use it. Anyone is welcome to DM us or email us and ask us any questions you might have. If you're interested in joining the coalition, let us know and we can work something out with you. If you need help organizing students, if you're in another district, let us know. We can meet with you, help you with that, give you some pointers, share all of our advice with you. You are always welcome to join us. Thank you guys so much.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
I'm excited.